Linda Okafor sent $47,000 to her daughter's wedding account in 3 separate wire transfers over 11 months. Money she had saved, dollar by dollar, working 2 jobs for 6 years. And on the morning of September 14th, 2023, she sat in a Hampton Inn in Marietta, Georgia, 31 miles from the ceremony, watching the live stream on her phone because she had not been sent an invitation. Not a late one. Not one that got lost in the mail. No invitation at all. She had not been told a date. She had not been given an address. She had been told, in a text message from her daughter Bianca 3 weeks before the wedding, that it would be better for everyone if Linda were not there. Linda did not respond to that text for 6 hours. When she finally did, she wrote 4 words. I understand. I love you. Then she drove to the Hampton Inn closest to the venue so she could be nearby in case Bianca changed her mind. She sat there from 7 in the morning until the live stream ended at 2 in the afternoon. Then she drove herself home. She had never told a single person what she had done that day. Not her sister, not her co-workers, not the pastor who had known her for 20 years. She had been carrying it alone for 4 months when she walked onto the Family Feud stage. Nobody in that studio knew that Linda Okafor had the best and worst seat at her daughter's wedding. Linda had raised Bianca alone, starting when Bianca was 4 years old. The marriage had not survived the economic pressure of 2 people in their 20s with a toddler, and not enough money and too much pride to ask for help. Linda's ex-husband, Derek, remarried within 2 years. His new wife, Patricia, was stable, warm, and available in ways that Linda, working double shifts, running on 4 hours of sleep most nights, was not always able to be. Bianca spent weekends with her father, then full weeks. Then, by the time Bianca was 12, she was primarily living with Derek and Patricia, and Linda's role had shifted into something that didn't have a clean name. She was still Bianca's mother. She still showed up for every school play, every graduation, every birthday. She still called every Sunday. But the gravitational center of Bianca's daily life had moved, and Linda understood why. And she had never once, not once, made Bianca feel guilty for it. That was the first thing she sacrificed. The right to be angry about it. The second thing she sacrificed was money she did not have. When Bianca got engaged at 28 to a man named Terrence, whose family was from Atlanta's Buckhead neighborhood, the wedding conversation happened the way these conversations happen in families where the money is uneven. Terrence's parents offered the venue. Patricia offered the flowers and the catering. Linda asked what she could contribute. Bianca said, a little too quickly, "Whatever you're able to, Mom." So Linda figured out what she was able to. She picked up a second job at a medical billing office, working Saturday mornings and 2 evenings a week for 6 years. She did not tell Bianca she had taken the second job. She simply transferred the money, $18,000 the first year, $15,500 the second, $13,700 the third, and told Bianca it was savings she'd been holding. Bianca thanked her each time by text. Linda never heard from Terrence's parents directly. And then, 3 weeks before the wedding, the text came. Better for everyone. No explanation. No prior conversation. No phone call. A text at 11:47 on a Tuesday night that erased 6 years of Saturday mornings in 3 sentences. Linda told her youngest daughter, Maya, who had been on the Feud team from the beginning, what had happened the night before the taping. Maya had not known about the Hampton Inn. She had not known about the live stream. She sat in the passenger seat of Linda's car in the parking lot of their apartment complex and said nothing for a very long time. And then said, with a kind of controlled fury that Linda recognized as her own. "Mama, why do you cry when you think I'm sleeping?" She was 26 years old when she said it, but it was the voice of every age she'd ever been, and Linda understood that Maya had been watching and carrying this, quietly, longer than Linda had realized. The next afternoon, they walked onto the Family Feud stage together. It was a January taping. Cold outside, bright inside. The studio running hot from the lights and the crowd. Steve Harvey came out working the way he always does. Warm and quick and reading the room in the way that only someone who has stood in front of crowds for 40 years can do. He got to the Okafor family and started in on his usual intro banter, asking Linda what she did for work. She told him, medical billing, 2 jobs, recently cut back. He asked about her family. She said she had 2 daughters. He asked where the other one was. The same pause that had undone Dorothy Reeves 3 months earlier. Linda's face did not break, but it moved 1 degree. In a way that Steve Harvey clocked immediately. The way a man who has spent half his life reading human faces in front of a live audience clocks the things people are trying not to show. He stopped. "Wait," he said. He stepped forward from the podium. "Where's your other daughter?" She wasn't able to come." "Wasn't able," Steve repeated. Not an accusation. An echo. The kind that invites a person to hear what they just said. Linda looked at Maya. Maya gave her the smallest nod. And Linda Okafor, who had held this story in her body for 4 months, who had sat in a Hampton Inn watching her daughter get married on a phone screen, who had never told a soul what that day cost her. She told Steve Harvey in front of 300 people and every camera rolling. The studio fell completely silent. She told it the same way she had lived it, with restraint, with no visible anger toward Bianca, with the same terrible dignity that had gotten her through 4 months of carrying something that would have broken most people. She said the numbers clearly. $47,000, 6 years, 2 jobs, 3 wire transfers. She said the text came at 11:47 at night. She said she drove to the Hampton Inn so she could be close. She said she watched on her phone. She did not cry. Not once. That was the part that broke Steve Harvey. He pressed his handkerchief to his face and turned away from the cameras. His shoulders moved. A crew member near the lighting board had stopped moving entirely. The competing family, the Delgado family from Houston, were sitting in their seats, and 2 of them were openly crying. When Steve turned back, his voice was different. "Let me tell you something," he said. He paused. "I know what it is to help somebody and have them act like you didn't. I know what it is to give everything you have and have it received like it was nothing. I spent 3 years with nothing, no home, no address, nothing. And I made a promise to God that if He got me out of that situation, I would spend the rest of my life being the person I never had. The person who showed up." He looked at Linda. "You have been showing up for 30 years. You did not stop showing up when it cost you everything. That is not weakness. That is the strongest thing I have ever seen on this stage." 300 people were not breathing. "Stop everything," Steve said to no one and everyone. "Cut the cameras. We're stopping." A producer appeared from the wings. Steve held up one hand, flat, a gesture that meant, "I am not negotiating." The game was over. He walked Linda to the front of the stage and asked her quietly, not into the microphone, if Bianca knew that she had been there that day. Linda shook her head. Steve nodded slowly and picked the microphone back up. "I want to talk to everyone watching at home," he said. "There are mothers in this world who show up in empty hotel rooms and watch through a phone screen because they love somebody too much to make it about themselves. We call that weakness sometimes. We should be calling it exactly what it is, which is the deepest, most unglamorous, most costly kind of love that exists. He paused. I'm going to do something that has never happened in the 45-year history of this show. He pulled out his phone. Steve called his own attorney live on that stage, speaker on, the whole room hearing it. He asked whether a legal review of the wire transfer records could be initiated to establish Linda's documented financial contribution to the wedding. His attorney said yes. He then called the producer of a different project, off camera, and arranged for Linda and Maya to be fully funded for a family counseling program. 10 months covered, specifically designed for family estrangement situations. The audience heard every word. But Steve wasn't done. He turned to the Delgado family, who had already crossed the stage without being asked. Their eldest daughter, a woman named Rosa, was standing next to Linda with her hand on her arm. Steve asked if they would share the prize. Rosa looked at her father. Her father, without standing up, said simply, "Already done." Both families received the full $25,000. The audience rose. Steve held up his hand. There was more. He looked at Linda one last time and said, into the microphone, 5 words. "This one's on me." Then he said, "Whatever you spent to be there, to show up, to work those Saturdays, to sit in that hotel room, that was not wasted. Money can be replaced. What you gave cannot. And Bianca is going to know that one day. Maybe today." The clip aired 8 weeks later. By the 3rd day, it had been seen 220 million times. The hashtag numbered for 7,000 reasons trended globally for 72 hours. News programs picked it up. Morning shows replayed the moment Steve turned away from the cameras. Opinion pieces were written. The discourse about adult children, divorced families, and the invisible labor of non-custodial mothers ran for weeks. 3 months after the taping, Bianca Okafor called her mother. It was the first call in 4 months. It lasted 2 hours and 40 minutes. Linda has never said what was said. What she has said, in the single Instagram post she made, 6 words, no photo, was, "She called. That's enough for now." 6 months later, they had dinner together. Just the two of them. Bianca flew to Atlanta. Linda made jollof rice, the same recipe she had made every birthday of Bianca's life. They ate for 3 hours. Nobody photographed it. A year after the taping, Linda cut back to one job. Not because she no longer needed money, but because she decided, for the first time in 6 years, that her Saturday mornings belonged to her. The Okafor Maya Initiative, established through Steve Harvey's foundation the following spring, provides legal documentation support and financial counseling for parents who have made undocumented financial contributions to adult children's major life events. Contributions that are often unchallenged, unrecorded, and invisible in the event of family breakdown. In its first year, more than 600 families were assisted. Today, Linda and Bianca speak every week. Not every day, but every week, without fail on Sunday afternoons, the same day Linda has always called. The dynamic is not identical to what it was before, but it is real, and it is honest, and it is theirs. Steve Harvey said, in an interview the following year, "I've met thousands of parents on that stage. But Linda Okafor taught me something I didn't have a word for before I met her. She taught me that showing up in an empty room for someone who doesn't know you're there is still showing up, and it still counts." Maya still has the screenshot of the live stream. Linda's face in the corner of the phone screen, the ceremony playing out in front of her, her expression unreadable. Maya says she keeps it not as evidence of a wrong, but as a record of what her mother is made of. What Linda Okafor is made of is the stuff that doesn't get a hashtag or a headline or a seat at the table. It is the stuff of second jobs taken without announcement, wire transfers sent without expectation, hotel rooms booked so the love stays close even when it isn't allowed in the door. If this story about a mother's invisible sacrifice and the love that refused to disappear moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with someone who needs to know that showing up, even when no one sees you, is never wasted. Have you ever given everything you had to someone who didn't know the cost? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to ring that notification bell for more moments that restore your faith in humanity.